Hello. Hi, you guys. I'm so excited to be back for my second homeschooling video. I hope that what I shared last week was an encouragement. Maybe it was something that a lot of you knew. Maybe it was something that was new. But I just want to tell you that talking about homeschooling and sharing from my heart my experiences and how the Lord has blessed our family is one of my absolute favorite things to do. So I'm so grateful to anybody who watched and anybody who shared it with their friends. I just want to allow as many moms as possible to see that homeschooling isn't as hard as they think it is. So um, thank you very much. Tonight, I'm going to talk about scheduling the year and just getting ready this summer. And then also what I do over the summer, to consider what's going to happen this fall, but then also how I utilize the summer and just going through how to plan out your year. So I know a lot of you are really excited to know kind of a day-to-day schedule. And I promise I'm going to talk about that, but I feel that I'm going to have a mini two-part series within this big series about scheduling. So today is the year kind of semester to semester schedule. And then next week, I will share what it actually looks like on a daily basis. When do we wake up? When do we start school? When do we take breaks? When do we do each subject? How many days a week? You get it. So as a homeschool mom, one of the most important things is when the school year is over, whether you're coming from your kid is in preschool, full-time public school, you've been homeschooling for a couple years, maybe you've done a neat hybrid, no matter what you're coming from, the school year is wrapping up in the next week or so. And I want to strongly encourage all of you to pray about each of your children and consider how their school year went. What went well for your student? What do you think were their struggles? I know for me, I do this towards the end of the year, and I just reflect on each of my girls as a student that year and what could I improve upon? What do I need to add in next year? Also remember that's really important to not just focus on their academics. As a homeschool mom, we can really have the opportunity to pray and hone in on their character and their attitude. Maybe your child is having an issue with a certain sibling. Maybe your child, is wanting more friends this year and you want to pray and have a focus on making new friends for one of your child. Some things that we've gone through as a family with our girls. Again, if you don't know this, or if this is your first time watching, you missed last week, I have 3 girls and 1 little boy, and my daughters are finishing up 7th grade, 5th grade, 3rd grade, and then I have a 3-year-old boy. So with our girls, we've homeschooled all the way. Over the years, there have been a lot of things that we've considered. Maybe this year we're going to pick up a new hobby for one of our kids, or we're going to just switch up kind of something that they're interested in. We're going to have a focus on reading, on our times tables, on handwriting. So pray and think about each child at the end of the school year. Ask yourself these questions. What does my child need for next year? What can my child grow from? What went really well last year? Maybe we don't need to focus on that as much. What worked, what didn't? Also, just to let you guys know, anybody who's watching, I'm going to talk for a little bit and then I want to answer questions tonight about the things I talk about. So at anything I'm saying, you have a more specific question if I don't go into enough detail, or if you have a little bit of experience in the area I'm talking about and you want to add in, it's really neat to see other people's comments, questions, feedback, anything. So just let me know if you want more information. So what worked, what didn't, and consider that to start creating your plan for the next year. Okay, so I always plan out, you obviously have your 4 core subjects. You're gonna have your math, your language arts, your history, and your science. Okay, so you know that no matter what, each child is gonna get that information. But then with homeschooling and with your kid experiences this in public school, if any of you have had children in school, there's all these other extra things, and so I made a list of things that you might have not considered to teach your child as a homeschool mom. And there's so many options for flexibility. As a mom, you can also reevaluate yourself at the end of the year. What kind of things that you really enjoy teaching the most? What kinds of things do you find difficult? What do you want to focus on next year just for yourself, for your family? So things like geography. Geography can easily be incorporated into history, but maybe you want to have a whole unit on geography and cultures. As a Christian, we sometimes we don't do this every year, but we'll have different years where we focus on the different cultures and the different people groups, and we spend some time praying for them. Art, and not just hands-on actually making crafts, but art history, teaching your children about the actual famous artists of our time, and then maybe doing some art, of course, with that. Music, the same kind of thing. Music appreciation, and then also just singing, teaching them actually about music and how it works, and instruments. If any of your children play an instrument, you can talk about reading music and chords, learning a foreign language. I like to call these things small units. I wasn't sure what else to call them, but things within literature, such as focusing on poetry or focusing on Shakespeare. A lot of language arts curriculums will have, the things that are the most important: spelling and reading and vocabulary. But then there's also reading comprehension, great classic books, literature, specifically Shakespeare, poetry. How do you want to add in all of these things? Hands-on science units, adding cursive, PE, government. So for us, I think every single year, I break it up into 2 semesters. I never try to plan out a whole year. I'll always plan out just till Christmas, and then Christmas breaks like breathe. We made it to Christmas. Let's reevaluate. And so that's what I call my Christmas break evaluation. That's the time to reflect on the last 3-4 months. Kind of what we're doing right now, reflecting on the school year, but really thinking about, okay, the curriculum I purchased and the subjects I'm teaching, are my kids really liking this? Do they even care about Shakespeare? Ask your children, especially kids who are, let's say, 2nd grade and up. Sorry, I have a phone call coming in. Especially kids who are 2nd grade and up, they have a lot of opinions. Maybe ask them at Christmas break, what do you want to study for science next semester? What do you want to study for history? Do you guys care about art? Do you care about, personal health and government and economics? And obviously these are things for a little bit older kids, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade. But there's so many things you can teach your children. And as a homeschool mom, I think that it's important to not be too focused on, I'm going to plan everything and I know what's best, but really ask your kids. And I mentioned to you guys last week the concept of interest-led learning. And that's something that I've loved the most in our family is I look at each of my girls, what are their interests right now, and what do I want to dive into and study on a deeper level? Do a unit study. So a unit study in the homeschool world is where you plan something. It's usually the focus is history or science, and then you can add in writing and reading and even sometimes math, depending on what you're studying, all about that. And that is a great way to teach multiple grades at the same time, which I am going to talk about teaching multiple grades at more length, but unit studies are a really fantastic way. So really, really talk to your kids, ask them what they think and get their opinion. So right now it's, school is ending, and I wanted to talk about what we do for the summer, really to maybe motivate some of you and encourage some of you. So we homeschool based on just the traditional school schedule. So a lot of homeschoolers will create their own neat schedule. Some people will full-time homeschool year-round, and then they create different breaks throughout the year that are unique. With homeschooling, you have the flexibility. You can do a traditional Christmas break and Thanksgiving break and spring break like the public schools, or you could just keep going and add in a break, in the middle of February. What we normally do is we school really hard. We start a little bit earlier than the public schoolers. We'll tend to start like that first week of August, even the last week of July, and we'll go hard all the way till Christmas. We do take, usually a week off in October because we tend to go on a vacation in October. It's nice weather and it's not as crowded. And then we'll take off a couple days for Thanksgiving, and then we'll just go. And then we will do a traditional spring break and summer. And so my girls, we are ending next week. And then I will very quickly start adding in some stuff for the summer. So I don't school year round, but I'm definitely a structured person. I'm never going to have, just a free for all summer. I always have a book list for each of my children. So I'm starting to work on that right now. And then what that looks like for me, if anybody wants to know and do this with your own children, is I think of each of my children. Obviously, this is the ones who are reading independently. You have separate book lists for the kids that you're still reading out loud to. If your kids are reading independently, you just look at some great book lists online. And then, one of my favorite websites is called Imagination Soup. And I also just consult Goodreads, and I look at books that we've loved as a family. And so if you search for a book you've loved, then they'll give you recommendations based on that book. And I make detailed book lists for each of my children. Usually between 5 to 10 books my girls have to read every summer. And these are mom assigned books. So these aren't the books that they're picking up, more of the fluff books. These are a mix. Sometimes I add in some classics. Sometimes I add in new fiction, maybe a fantasy, maybe for my oldest daughter who's in 7th grade, I'll add in like a Christian nonfiction. She's just starting to be able to appreciate some theology books. But the bottom line is these are mom assigned books, and they know they have to read these throughout the summer. And then we usually do about a half an hour of math during the summer when we're home. If we're out of town on vacation, I do not make my kids do math. But when we're home, it's just a nice way to get our day started because my kids are used to it. After they eat breakfast, they can just go to the basement where we have our schoolroom and they can do a math worksheet or two. We do a lot of timed math in the summer just to reinforce those times tables and division, fractions, decimals, kind of some of the core concepts. So they're not forgetting everything, but then also it's these foundational things that the higher level maths will build upon that I really want to make sure my girls are good at. So we will do that in the summer, some reading, and then maybe once a week we'll do a science experiment or a really detailed craft, or we'll have an ongoing craft that takes a couple of weeks, an art project. We do a lot of nature walks. Something that's really fun is to purchase nature journals for your kids and incorporate that into kind of summer school. So every time you go on a picnic, on a hike, even just off on a trail anywhere, you want to go out to like Pueblo Reservoir or, when these things start opening again, the zoo, you can have your kids bring their nature journals and they can draw pictures and take notes of what they see, and then you guys can discuss it when you get home. We also do a lot of reading out loud as a family. I'll always choose a couple books, more beefy, kind of meaty books, fiction to read out loud to my kids. Cora, my 3rd grader, can't quite read some of these really amazing works of fiction, but I think she could enjoy them and understand them. So we'll do them as an audio or I will read out loud. I think it's really important for kids to have some sort of structure during the summer. It's hard for them to go from a school year and then all of a sudden it's a free-for-all, and I think that's one area where personally, if you want my honest opinion, public school doesn't get it right. I think that, some kids go to summer school, but I think it's hard for a kid to just go from school, I'm working, I'm applying myself, and then all of a sudden I'm off. It's a free-for-all. I can just sleep in and do whatever I want and veg out. So I think it's good as a homeschooler, we can have that opportunity to just give our kids a little bit of structure. Another thing with the summer, I think that's it. Okay, so touching on the options for schooling and a schedule for some people. I have heard of so many different cool options. We've done, one year we did a 4-day-a-week schedule and we took Fridays off. Well, when all those Fridays add up, then we just didn't take as long of a spring break. And with the Fridays off, you can do a field trip day, or you can do a day where you just do art, or you do a big Lego creation, or maybe you have like a play date book club with a group of friends, but you're not doing your core subjects. So a 4-day-a-week schedule could be an option for you. You want to work in, when you're planning your school year in the summer, you want to work in the holidays and vacations that you know about, but you have the opportunity to go out of town when you want, and it's gonna be okay. If you want to go out of town, don't fret. With homeschooling, you can just readjust. There are some things that can travel with you, but homeschooling is so much about learning when you're gone and learning what's around you. And no matter where you're going out of town, you can learn about where you're going. And if you're just going to visit family, you can do activities with your grandparents, and you can do activities with the cousins, or you can do nothing and then you can just make up for it later. I really want to encourage you and let you know that there is no guilt. Homeschooling is so fun. It's so flexible and easy. Also this summer, as you're considering your homeschool this fall and you're praying about your children, think about what you might need help with. There's no shame in knowing that you need something sourced out. I think I mentioned it last week that my oldest, who's a seventh grader now, starting during her sixth grade year, we started getting help for math because I knew, I could teach her math, but it was going to take me a long time and it was going to require me to be away from her siblings. And I had to relearn a lot of the stuff myself. So we sourced out math. Absolutely no problem. You can find tutors, you can find co-ops, there are a lot of hybrids, and there are a lot of options online. So I think an important thing over the summer is to consider what you might need help with and do the research now. Online help, tutors, district enrichment programs. There's so many ways for your kids to also get learning without you having to be the sole educator for every subject. It's a lot of pressure, and it's okay to admit that you might need help in a subject area. And that also is really important during your Christmas break evaluation. After those first couple months, if you're just grueling and striving and trying to figure out how to teach, pre-algebra, you have to wave the white flag and recognize, okay, I'm going to need some help in this area. And that's what I had to do at the beginning of sixth grade. And you guys, it was really hard for me. It was hard because I am a perfectionist and I do want to be right and I do want to be capable and equipped to handle everything. And I had to recognize that my pride and my being unable to admit that I needed help was hurting Scarlett because she wasn't getting challenged as much. So just evaluate that, talk to your husband. He does see what's going on. He knows you so well, and he could gently encourage you in that area, and there's absolutely no shame in it. So Christmas break evaluation, you might need to order some new curriculum. Something else at Christmas break that's really convenient, and you can do that right now, is just start the process of where are you going to do school? Consider your house. Maybe you have the luxury of a whole schoolroom. If you don't, what spaces can you create in your home to do school? There are some times that you might have to keep things in baskets and pull them out when it's school time. Maybe you can purchase some sort of shelving unit or hutch to store everything. But that's what we need to be doing this summer, going through our old school supplies, pulling things out, purchasing new stuff, obviously, but just creating the space and making everything fresh and streamlined. It is so amazing to freshen up and just clean the school space. You will love it. Your kids will love it. Oh my goodness, my girls absolutely love when we freshen up our school space. It's really helpful. It makes them feel really excited. They can find everything, buy some new supplies, take advantage of all of the back to school sales that start happening at the end of July. Stock up on everything that you need during that time. Pencils, paper, binders, folders. Homeschoolers need all that too. And at the beginning of the school year, more in July, early August, everything is on sale. So just stock up, stow things away, stock up on craft supplies, and just get your school area all organized and ready. Okay, so I thought I would talk about the things that we've worked on over the past. Remember, if you guys have any specific questions and want me to go into more detail with anything I've said, let me know, okay? So the process that I'm going through right now. So right now, we're finishing up school, and I'm considering each kid. So what I'll do is I'll get a big sheet of paper, and I'll write each of my students, and then I'll write all of the subjects that I'm doing, what curriculum they're going to be using, what curriculum that I'm going to be buying. So sometimes a curriculum I'm going to be using, I still had it from last year. So I'll put like a star by the ones that I know I need to purchase. And if you know ahead of time, right now would be considered ahead of time, what you want to purchase, all summer you can be watching for these items to go on sale. Sometimes you can score on a garage sale. Sometimes you can score on like an online used curriculum. So if you know ahead of time what you want, then at the very end of summer, you're not forced to buy everything full price. So I'll make a list of each one of my kids, and I'll know, okay, what are they doing for math? Math is the biggest. Language arts, history, science, and then we'll talk about what they're going to do next year. So for my girls, next year, Scarlett, my oldest, goes to something called College Pathways. So it's a hybrid option, and if you live in Colorado Springs, it's great, or if you live anywhere else, just look into your hybrids. So she gets her core subjects there, and then I work her into some of our extras. Lillian and Cora, I'll plan out what we're going to do. Once I know what curriculum I'm choosing for science, If I know that we are going to be studying, for example, marine biology. Wait, I shouldn't use that example. We're studying mammals. I already know this. We're studying mammals. Then I'll take it a step further and I'll think of other books we can read. Because in addition to curriculum, it's so amazing to use living literature. Actually use real books to complement and enrich your curriculum. So I'll do some research online. I'll find books, extra books about horses, extra books about giraffes, you get the picture. And then I will go ahead and put all of those on hold. I'm not putting them on hold right now, but I'm just letting you know the process that I go through. And then I know that as we start school, I have my curriculum, I have the extra books that I want to read. Now, how I use these extra books, let me know if you use them differently, but I'll pick some that my girls have to read individually, and then I'll pick some that I'm going to read as read alouds. Since Riker is 3 and he turns 4 in July, he's starting to sit still longer. He's starting to be more a part of our school. So I'll pick some read alouds that I know have really great pictures that I want to involve him in. Okay, these are your mom assigned books, Lily. Over the next 4 weeks, when we're studying mammals, you need to read these 2 books. And then when it's assigned, quiet reading time, which we have every day, she knows what book she has to read. And then when we do read aloud time, I read the book. And all of these books correspond to the unit we're doing in science. And I'll do the same exact thing for history. So for history next year, we're starting with ancient Egypt. So I'm already starting to do some research on extra books. Also, I like to find maybe podcast episodes. Sometimes if you look on YouTube, there's some really great animated series for kids that you can watch that are appropriate. A lot of teachers actually upload them to YouTube, and they're really, really convenient. And so Riker will like watching those. And depending on the type of student you have, they might really appreciate a movie. They're a visual learner. Watching a YouTube video about that is a lot more helpful sometimes than just sitting still while I read from a book. Oh, hey, Witch. She asked, how long is quiet reading time? So my girls have individual quiet reading time for about 20 minutes for my 3rd and 5th grader. Scarlett, my 7th grader, has more. So they read about 20 to 30 minutes by themselves. And then I also read out loud for probably 20 to 30 minutes as well. During the summer, it's actually longer because during the summer, we're not doing our other curriculum. So I'll have them read sometimes up to an hour, but keep in mind it's not an hour all the way through. During the summer, when I give them their book list, they can read in 20-minute chunks all throughout the day, because during the summer, we're not doing as much other writing curriculum. We're not doing really a science or a history curriculum, but during the school year, 20 to 30 minutes. And typically I'll have that incorporated into some sort of quiet time. Riker doesn't nap anymore, so quiet time kind of went away in my family, but I'll still have the girls go do reading. That's actually a tip for teaching multiple grades at the same time. I utilize quiet reading time where if I'm having to teach a new concept in math, I'm teaching Lily right now a really difficult new concept in math, and I need Cora occupied. So I'll say, okay, Cora, go do your quiet reading time now while I'm teaching Lily and Riker is playing by himself. And then we kind of rotate. When Cora's done with quiet reading time, she comes out, I sit with her for math. Lily either entertains Riker if he needs entertaining, or she goes and starts her quiet reading time. And it's just this rotation that everybody's going through. And I can go into more detail about that next week, but that's basically the way it works, the rotation. Oh, Megan, yes, pictures of my school space. Yes, I will absolutely have that. Not tonight because it's dark and it's kind of messy, but we need to clean it up, and I'll post some pictures in the comments. Also, what might be best is maybe if I post the pictures in the comments next week, or I could just post them on my profile. Maybe I'll just do that, because I figure even people who aren't watching this now, who are watching it tomorrow or the next day, will want to see. And I'll just upload them when it's really, really light and 2 p.m. and sunny and pretty. So maybe tomorrow or the next day. Thanks for asking. I'm kind of obsessed with school spaces, and I love organizing, and I know you like that too, Meg. So it's really fun to see other people's school spaces. It's great motivation. Okay, so evaluating your kids' schedule. Okay, I think that is the big picture schedule and getting ready and using our summer efficiently. But just remember that a couple words of encouragement. when you get to the end of summer and it's time to start schooling, it can be really scary. It can be really daunting, but don't. It's just, these are your kids. They love you. They want to be in your presence. They want to learn from you. And sometimes they fight back, but they love it. They really do, and they benefit from it. And just start small. Schedule the first week really, really small. I remember when we originally started homeschooling, Scarlett, I started doing school with her. She's 4 years old. I have a 2-year-old. I have a newborn. And I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't homeschooled. And I just started really small. We did a tiny bit of math. I'm talking 5 to 10 minutes, a tiny bit of reading, maybe 10 to 20 minutes. And then I read out loud to her. And she did a little bit of drawing. And that's it. And even if your kids are older, even if you're starting fresh, coming from public school, and you have a 5th or 6th grader and you feel this pressure, you can make up the time. Start small. Create a tone. Create an atmosphere. Put the Lord first. Start with Bible time. Listen to some praise music. Homeschooling can be a really beautiful, delightful, slow-paced environment if you let it be that. I think for us as the moms, as the teachers, we're the ones who get uptight. We're the ones who get stressed out and worried. And that is what overflows into our homeschool. And I know that that's something that I've experienced all throughout my life of homeschooling. And I'm constantly working on that and reminded of that and praying throughout the summer and throughout my Christmas break kind of evaluation time. Just, Rachel, what do you need to work on? What do you need to submit to the Lord? I can't believe that you got so upset the other week, because your kids' moods completely reflect you, and they will piggyback on your attitude. And if you're having a pity party day, they will start, and then it all snowballs. A couple of the last things I wanted to say, and this just applies to every day of the year, whether you are a public school parent or a homeschool parent or a hybrid parent, you can always reclaim your day. The day's a snowball. And I know for myself, if we have our first subject of the day and it's not going well, sometimes I just call it and I say, okay, girls, let's just be done. Let's just go to the library. Let's bring a couple books and just go to Panera, and let's get a bagel, and I'll just read out loud to you at Panera. Or we'll go to Panera and you can all bring headphones and listen to a podcast by yourself. And that's okay. And you can reclaim the day and go to Panera and get a bagel, and then you can come home and have a really good rest of the day, versus you stay home and you try to gruel and to press through it, and everybody's just getting increasingly worse. And the same thing can happen at night when you're doing homework. You have to be able to recognize that the day doesn't have to end then. You can change the demeanor and the tone of your day. And it's something I love about homeschooling, is the opportunity to take things outside, take things on the go lay out a blanket and do school on the grass for an hour. Do it at a park, do it at Panera, do it at the library. You get the point. And during your Christmas break, kind of mid-year evaluation, the same thing, but on a bigger scale. The year is not over. Maybe you've had a really hard 3 months. Things happen. Maybe you were sick for a couple weeks. Maybe one of your kids were sick, and you feel like we are so far behind. We lost so much school. Christmas break is a really good time to just refocus, take some deep breaths, have a really amazing, wonderful holiday with your family, and don't even think about how horribly the last 3 months went. And just know that when January, 3rd, 4th, 5th comes, you're going to refocus and you're going to reclaim the year. There's enough time to refocus. You could seriously teach your kids everything they need to know in January, February, March, and April, and May, and they would be fine. You could take the whole semester off in the fall. People have babies, you get the point. So the last thing that is so important, and I've had so many older homeschool moms tell me this, is write down regularly and remember regularly and talk to your husband regularly about how the Lord called you to homeschool. Why are you homeschooling? Did the Lord call you? Have you prayed about this? Do you feel that this is right for your family? Well, then that's the answer you need. And read that in times of need. And I talk about it a lot, and I have it in my journal, and I just remember, and I try to recall those first couple months of homeschooling. And when things are hard now, I remember back then, and remember, okay, yes, that is why we're doing this. He told me then to do this. And, Scarlett needed it then and she needs it now. And this is what's right for our family. And I think it's really important for you and your husband to continue to be on the same page and to talk about that and reminisce about why you're homeschooling. And really, when things are really, really hard, make a list of all the really fun things that have happened in your homeschooling. Some of your favorite field trips, some of the favorite milestones. I mean, the moment you teach your child to read, I know last week I almost started crying, you guys, but when your child actually gets it and they read a book out loud to you, it's just the most amazing feeling. And when your child can write their name in print and in cursive, and the first time they write a book report, and the first time they stand up and do an oral presentation, and when they talk about what they learned to your husband and to your in-laws, your heart swells with pride because you realize, I did that. And I did that with my husband's help and with the Lord's help. And as someone who who never thought she'd homeschool, just remembering these moments, the moments that I've experienced that have been precious, keep me going. And so that is the number one thing you need to remember when you're homeschooling. And even just over the past couple of weeks, if you've gotten thrown into homeschooling, try to find the wonderful moments. Thank you, Tara. I love you. Okay, I want to end with prayer, and please add any more questions you guys have. Next week, I'm really going to talk about a serious day-to-day schedule and that rotation that I mentioned tonight, how my kids kind of go back and forth and how I make it work with managing all of their needs and having a 3-year-old. So I'm going to pray for you guys and myself, of course. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to homeschool our kids and the freedom to make the decisions to educate them in this way, Lord. It is such a gift. I thank you for everything you've taught me, and I pray for everybody listening right now and who are going to listen tomorrow, that you teach them so much this summer, that you reveal to them a word or, a gift, something that each one of their children needs from you, from them this summer. Point them in a direction, give them encouragement, challenge them when they need it. I pray that you prompt these moms and dads, dads are a really important role in this, Father, prompt them to spend time in prayer, spend time in your word. Lord, everything we need, you can give us. And I pray for direction. I pray for guidance and clarity for myself and everyone listening. I pray for children's attitudes, Lord. I pray for gratefulness and thankfulness from our children. Our children will never understand the sacrifices we make right now, but I pray that you give them perspective, that you help our children appreciate the things that we're doing for them. And I pray that every single mama listening just feels loved by you. And even if she's not getting that appreciation from her kids or her husband, if her husband's not supportive, that she gets that, love and appreciation from you, that she feels seen and known, and she is special, and she's absolutely qualified to do this, Lord. Thank you, Father. We love you so much. Amen. Okay, I am all teary-eyed. Thank you for listening, and share this with anybody if you feel prompted to. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.